What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Pillow Talk with Paul Goneau. Today, my guest is visual artist and referee, the Salt and Pepper Prince, Brandan Doty.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem, man. So, right out the gate, what got you into refereeing?
I've been a big wrestling fan, all my life. In high school, I had my own backyard wrestling TV show on cable access. When I was 17, my friend Jay Baskey and he was the one. We were both volunteering at the Rogers, doing camera work for shows.
Like the Cable 10.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly that. And we started doing this stupid backyard wrestling stuff in 1997. And one day he shows up with the Rogers cameras. I'm like, "Are we allowed to do this?" He's like, "Yeah, we're just..." So I think we got 5 episodes on the air before the CRTC shut us down. It was threats from the CRTC because we ended up doing barbed wire stuff, and apparently it was the most called in show, people phoning in loving it, because no one watches any of it, right? But we had 20 calls loving it, and then I guess we had 3 calls that didn't like it, and that was enough to make them shut us down. So I've always had an interest in going back to it, but around 2019...
Were you wrestling?
Oh yeah,
and
I was booking it, so of course I was the champion.
Oh man!
I was just doing a Cactus Jack gimmick, but I also had another gimmick, a La Parka, but I called him the Coat because I figured La Parka translates in a funny way to the coat. It was a luchador with all the skeletons. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, in 2019, I just noticed I'm not gonna wrestle. I was 38 at the time. And I realized the refereeing on TV was so bad, and I know it's kind of designed to be that, and it was only WWE kind of at that time that I was seeing, and the refs were just not doing anything, and I was like, well, I think I can do that. I feel like I can do better, and I was listening to a lot of podcasts and learning about Rip Rogers, this trainer in the States, and it occurred to me that Anthony at Battle Arts, Anthony Corelli, was trained by Rip Rogers, who is the best trainer in the world. He trained John Cena, Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, he's the best, and he trained Anthony. I was like, well, goddamn, that's the best education you can get, the student of the best teacher. So emailed Battle Arts, and Anthony messaged me back, and I sat in on a class, and it's I told him all I wanted to do was referee. He's like, well, we don't really train just refs, but if you want to wrestle, you can do it. So I said, yeah, sure. So my first day of training was Halloween 2019, and went to Battle Arts and got beat up 4 nights a week till the pandemic shut us down in March. And but always with the intention of being a ref, just trying to learn it from the inside and kind of pay some dues. And man, it's so great. People talk about the fakeness of it now, and I can speak to the realness of it from a first-hand perspective. It's structured, it's scripted, but all those punches in the face are real, and I really don't enjoy being punched in the face. So being the ref is it's great.
I think there's so many things that people don't think about when they refer to wrestling as fake, and I've said this numerous times, but I've always it's athletic Shakespeare. Essentially, it's if anybody that could go to a play to see Cats or any kind of stage production, that's essentially what it is, but with athleticism involved. You have, I don't want to refer to them as real athletes, but because obviously wrestlers are real athletes too, but from their point of view, I think they wouldn't consider them real athletes, and they would consider MMA and stuff more authentic or real, you know what I mean? And wrestlers get a lot of respect from the MMA community, and they get a lot of respect from the acting community, if you will. There's a beautiful combination that creates wrestling, and you're not watching a play, watching someone pantomime driving a car, and acting you know, hey, that's not a real car. Like,
Right,
what
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
you accept it for what it is.
I always
you know what
let
I
people
mean?
know. You know that RoboCop wasn't even a real robot. You know?
Yeah, right.
Does that make you like it less?
But so many things hurt, and like I am super new. Like I'm really, like I don't know, maybe 3 or 4. But like I started with that Jimmy Corderas and Harry seminar.
Yeah.
That's like
Was that
the first day, and
Oh,
like I
right on.
signed up for Battle Arts that, and I talked to them, and I was like, it was kind of like what you were saying, and you can just come and like train with the wrestlers, and then Nick, he does stuff on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so that's usually, you know, I go 2 times a week, and just from this, like I'm kind of, you know, learning things about it that I was so ignorant to, like the ropes, dude. Running just off the ropes
it's crazy.
hurts. Like there's so many things that people don't consider, and how often they train and how often they perform.
Even that a body slam rattles your brain. I remember Carew slamming me once, and I'm just like, oh my head, you know, like you can get a concussion from a body slam and land nowhere near your head. Like it's so violent. It's nonstop violence. And like the scripted idea of it can go right out the window if you accidentally potato somebody that you're in the ring with, and they're, you know, not really a nice guy. The next one's gonna be like a kick in your head. Like you see some, as a referee, I feel like the thing I've seen the most that wrestlers think they can do but they can't do is the knee to the head. Knees to the head end up real more times than other moves. That's the move that I've seen the most. Like. Oh, and sometimes the crowd doesn't even see it, but it's like I'm hearing the sound. I remember there was one, like, I try not to react too much to moves in the ring, but I don't say, it doesn't matter who it was, but it's just like took a knee to the head, and I'm just like, oh! It was like the crowd was dead because they didn't see it, but I was like, oh.
Yeah, man. I've seen like some things. Just I've only done a few. And, you know, doing those, you know, every time there's always one or two moments that, you know, I'm like, oh my God.
In training, I accidentally punched Cody Villanueva in the mouth.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, fuck, sorry. And he's like, no problem. And I was like, is there a receipt coming? Like, I don't want Cody to punch me out either.
Oh, there's so much stuff I see when they train. And the community is actually, it seems like, intimidating from the outside, like before I got into it. And I had considered it for a bit, and really, if you know Mikey Truth, he was on the podcast in the very beginning, and we've known each other for a bit, and you know, we just talked. And like for me, like I have a back injury, like I fractured like my lower back when I was 16,
right,
like doing skateboarding shit. And so, like, that like, I have a vertebrae, literally, if you go down my spine, that's just, like, in, like, half an inch.
Right, wow.
And so, like, my back's just messed up. Like, I would love to maybe wrestle one match in my life.
Yeah.
That would be, like, bucket list shit. But it just wasn't, it doesn't seem like a full-time option for me. And I'm just, like, such a fan of everything. Like, I've been watching wrestling since Barney, bro.
Yeah.
And, he sent me the thing for the seminar, and that was just it. And I was like, I was going by myself. I don't really. And when I went, you know, I think Mikey was actually there, and Carew, who's, you know, just, you know, really good dude.
Yeah,
solid dude.
He's awesome. He could have every belt in Toronto. It's like he's such a beast. There's a reason he was the first Battle Arts champion. He's so smart, so funny too. I had one bell-to-bell match in training with Sway Archer, and he's so great too. Walked me through it. I kept on. He just had no answer for my headlock takeover, and then at the end of I had him slammed down and went to the second rope, and just this perfect Bret Hart elbow right to the sternum, and it's like, you can ask people who were there. I saw his ghost fly out of his mouth. He was done. So. He's the only one. He kneed me in the gut as a ref once, so I feel like I'm still angry. Like,
Dynasty. You were a ref, and you were doing like refereeing duties?
No, this was in training.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
we're just having bell-to-bell training class at the.
Because I have a funny story. He was actually like right out the gate, and I didn't even really know his name in the beginning, and he was like giving me advice, and like I love that shit. Like I think. Maybe some people don't want to give advice or be taken the wrong way if they're just... But, like, man, anybody can give me advice. Like, I have no ego at all, and I'm just like taking it in. He was really helpful.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, we were involved in like a match. You might have even, I can't remember what event it was, but we were talking before, and he was saying how like, oh, like hitting the ref, you know, is disrespectful, and there was this whole thing going on, you know, after the match.
Right.
And like how I should be. And then when it all happened, like he was basically saying in the beginning, like before the event, that, you know, he wasn't gonna like hit me or anything, and that's totally, you know, frowned upon. And then when this was happening, I was kind of like, hit me, man. Like I was really just trying to get him to hit me, and he's like, I'm not hitting you. And it was kind of like, sometimes my thing is, I think one of my worst things, like I do react a little bit, but something I really have to work on is like laughing.
Man,
I'm an easy laugh. I don't want to say easy laugh, but like I love any kind of humor. You know, I'm so, you know,
it's hard not to laugh. Your body's just gonna do it.
And like that was one time, and there was also another time where what's his name? Holden Albright.
Yeah.
He was like going back and forth with this grandma in the crowd, and then at one point he like pulled his like trunks up, or his like onesie thing that he wears. What is it called?
A singlet?
A singlet, thank you. Yeah, he pulled it up like right at the back, and like so both his ass cheeks were hanging out, and they were recording, bro, and luckily in the thing on YouTube you can't see it, but buddy, have you ever had any moments where...
I know exactly, yeah, it was Carew was wrestling Randy Bino, and Randy was down, giving him like repeated punches to the down opponent. So I was like, come on, I started to count, but keep the fist open. Keep your fist open, and I'm standing, and he's down on the ground, and he looks up, and he yells, and the crowd is full, and he yells, "Get your penis out of my face!" You know, it's like, and I'm like, I can't laugh, and that was kind of the moment where I realized, okay, now I have to, like, there's an improv element here, like, now I can't just stand here and take that, like, I'm the ref, I have authority, so I walked away, and then he came over to me, and I was like, you know, my dick goes where I go, you know? And he said something, and I was just like, unbelievable, you know, and he turned away, and when we went backstage, he's like, wow, when you said unbelievable, it almost popped me. I was like, oh, it's like, it wasn't until that moment where I realized, like, fuck, I have to respond here in a way that, like, gets the crowd back going. Like, it was so perfect.
And they heard you, though?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody heard you and stuff?
And I kept a straight face, and I was just trying to get through it.
That's
God
funny.
damn, he's so funny.
What about, like, moments where you panicked? Or maybe not panicked, but in your mind... Well, in your mind you could have panicked, and you didn't know what to do.
This last weekend, I refereed at Wrestlemania up in Burley Falls. It was an outdoor show across from a trailer park, so it was real loose. Like and there was a 4-way elimination tag match, and before the match, I couldn't get the heels. Was it Daddy Davis and Kawasaki? Shoot, I can't remember his name, but they're brothers. And they took a chair from the fans, and all I'm trying to do is get the match started. But then they're starting a thing, and I just felt like it was going on too long, and I'm trying to get the match started. And at one point, I'm just like, come on, you're burying me here. Like, let's do this. And they ended up throwing the fans' chair into the bushes. I was like, okay, I guess this is part of it. It's like if you're not going to get out of the ring, I'm going to ring the bell, and then I'm going to disqualify you, and that's going to be the end of your night. And I rang the bell, and that they seem like they took to that. It's like, there's an element of the referee that is 100% real. Like, it's the reffing is real. There's rules that you have to do, otherwise the whole thing kind of falls apart. I was thinking about that, like, what matches, they say that, like, a good ref can make a good match great or make a great match crappy, and there's a Bret Hart Terry Funk, it's like one of Terry Funk's retirement matches. And it's a great match, but the referee is somebody who Terry Funk was childhood friends with, and he's not counting rope breaks, he's not doing so many, there's pinfalls that he's not even noticing are happening. Like, it's like, this is an instance where this match, you need that ref who's gonna just set boundaries. I was trying to think of an analogy, like, what is the ref in wrestling? and I was like comparing him to some other sport or something like that, and I feel like more so that like tennis, more than like a line judge or something, the referee in wrestling is more like the net, like with like you can't. I don't know how to describe it, but I know Robert Frost said that writing freeform poetry was like playing tennis with no net. It's like there's just no point, and I think like these no holds barred matches they can get a little convoluted, and the crowd doesn't know what to respond to because there's you have to break rules for the bad guy to be a bad guy. Like they get sympathy for the baby face who's brave and never gives up. Like you have to. Yeah, you need a net.
I heard, I can't remember, I think it was Jimmy Corderas who said, because people ask him, like, what does a referee do? Like, this is like, it's pre-planned, like, what is your purpose? And he was saying that he was the conductor, like, basically. That was like, or no, what did he say? He said the choreographer. And that was something that kind of stuck with me a little bit because even, it's funny, man, going into it, I was like ignorant to like a lot of the stuff referees had to do. Like
me too.
I
thought I knew so much more.
There was like, man. And now that I'm in, I'm learning more about the business and like the history and coming at it from like a different point of view. But up until like, 3-4 months ago, I was just a super fan.
Yeah. What got you into wrestling? Like, was there an angle or a storyline or like an era that?
Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. I don't want to act like I hadn't seen stuff before that, but like, so my nana was a nurse, and she lived with. I call her my Aunt Doreen, but she wasn't actually my aunt by blood. We were just really close. And like I grew up in foster homes, but periodically I lived with my Nana. Like there was this struggle for a long time about who like my legal guardian was. But for, periods of time I lived with my Nana and lived with my Aunt Doreen because she lived with her. And like she had like diabetes and she had to go to hospitals like a few times a week, and my Nana just took care of everything,
Yeah.
And she was the person, my Aunt Doreen was the person that got me into wrestling. And it was all like, she was a big Andre the Giant fan, and like she got me into like that era and showed me like stuff that happened before I was alive and like that. I mean single digits, like loving Barney and like Power Rangers, that kind of like, time. I don't know exactly my age, but it would probably be like, 3, 4, something really early, 5 maybe. And yeah, man. Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior is still, I know he's a controversial figure in wrestling, but he's still like, I'm a big fan of characters when it comes to wrestling. And he was like the first, just gave it everything, He was not necessarily the best in the ring or had a long list of moves, but there was something insanely captivating about him, and he was, I don't know, probably why I really gravitated toward, like, when I think about it. And definitely, like, the Hogan Intercontinental Championship versus, the heavyweight champ, like that
at the
match.
Skydome here in Toronto.
Yeah, like that was epic, and that was like
instead of a Ted Rogers statue outside of the Skydome, it just disgusts me that it's not someone like Tom Cheek or Joe Carter or the Warrior Preston Hogan. Like that happened in that building. That was such a huge moment. Why is there a Ted Rogers statue?
You think he got him up?
Yeah,
he was almost.
Hogan's gonna sandbag you. He's looking up. But it was Hogan for me as well, getting me into wrestling. But it was the.
Oh, for sure. I loved both of them. That's why it was so. Yeah. It was so epic, man.
It was the Don Morocco, King Kong Bundy, Bobby Heenan when they held him in the corner and splashed him, building up to WrestleMania 2. I remember watching it at my friend Matt Lane's house, thinking like, "Holy shit, this guy's ribs are broken. Is he gonna get up?" I love WrestleMania.
There was a lot of Hogan moments. I remember Earthquake. I think, like, sat on his chest, and it was, like, this big... Bro, like, this stuff got me really emotional as a kid, you know? It, like, really... I was invested.
When he squished Damien, Earthquake, as well. He killed Jake the Snake's snake.
Yeah. Who would you say your favorite wrestler of all time is?
You know, in the 90s, when Bret Hart was saying, you know, best there is, best there was, best there ever will be, it's like I heard it, but I didn't really get it. I didn't really believe that it was true.
It's a good line.
And going back, it's like he is the best. He's the best. I think him and Eddie Guerrero are the two best storytellers in the ring. They can, like, things can go wrong, and they know how to fix it and get the crowd, you know, back wherever they wanted them to be to begin with. But yeah, for me, Bret Hart is just... I've been watching. I just wanted to know that I've seen everything, so I've been making these lists. I've been ranking all these Bret Hart matches. I'm doing it with a bunch of different people, but just like I'm almost at 200 matches that I've watched, and there's just like they're so amazing. Like, yeah, his body of work is, I think it's unparalleled.
No, he's definitely.
And there's this crazy series. Like, I really want to like Diesel. Like, I wanted to go back and be like, you know, Diesel was awesome. Like, and I'm just watching through, and they're tough. He's not awesome. But there's 3 matches. They had 4 pay-per-view matches with Bret Hart, but 3 of them, I think it's King of the Ring, Survivor Series, and Royal Rumble. And I watched those matches, and I learned, and I just watched them like maybe last year. But I felt like I learned so much more about ring psychology from those matches because it's one person doing the ring psychology. Like, sometimes it's babyface, and Bret Hart just knows when to do something heelish, just to, like, make the crowd have sympathy. He's so smart. It's all about just, like, playing the crowd and listening. Like, he can call it in the ring and knows... Those 3 matches with Diesel really just kind of lay out what the human story is, good guy, bad guy thing, and why a fan will even care. Really perfect. And then there's an In Your House match that you don't have to watch, but the Survivor Series match, that's the one from their 3 matches that's worth watching. That had the table spot on the outside. Like, no one had ever gone. Well, I mean, yeah, no one had fallen from the apron on WWF TV through a table. Like, Bret, I remember it blowing my mind when I was a kid, and it's still good today. Because it's just about human things. Like, the law of retaliation is a human law, and that's what wrestling theater is based around, eye for an eye. And that's what the referee, like, the guy has to cheat, and the referee can't see it, but the crowd does see it, and then they want the good guy to get revenge. And the ref is such a big part of making that happen.
Man, I agree with so much that you said about Bret Hart, and I think for me anyway, like, one of the greatest examples is with my favorite wrestler of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Amazing.
And how, like, I would 100% argue that, like, the match where, and you would probably know what it was, what event it was, but the match where might have been their second match together, and, like, Stone Cold got put in the sharpshooter.
WrestleMania 13.
And he was just bleeding like a mother, and he didn't tap, and it was just, like, over. And, like, I don't get me wrong, bro. I have so much love for Bret Hart, and I agree with what you're saying. He's got to be in your discussion on the best wrestlers of all time. But, like, from that point, it was like, that was a passing of the torch moment for me.
Right, yeah.
Where I was like, I went in, like, the biggest Bret Hart fan, and then, like, my love for Stone Cold Steve Austin started.
And it's great because that's what they designed to have happen. That's
what
so
I'm saying.
smart. That's my favorite match of all time.
Oh, really?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah?
It's so
awesome.
good.
Yeah.
The way, I mean, Bret Hart just keeps on going back to the leg, and then at the end, and then at the end of the match, when he finally gets the leg, it all makes sense and puts the sharpshooter on him. But it's like he's working towards it the whole match through. It's really amazing, and it's a great brawl into the crowd as well. Like, there's so many great, and Ken Shamrock, his first reffing job, like, he does an incredible job. Yeah, he does so much to make. And Bret Hart cowers away from Shamrock at the end of the match when he pulls him off Stone Cold, and that's part of being a heel, like backing away, being a coward. It's like, it's just such brilliant.
Yeah, there's so much, It's kind of also what you're saying. It's kind of why I am not a big fan of just like wrestlers that are like just offensive. You know, like I like a Brock Lesnar or Goldberg type. And don't get me wrong, man. Back in the day, I was a real big fan of Goldberg. But there's something that's like,
I love it.
There's no
squash.
wave to ride. You know, there's
Yeah.
no. It's like it's too much. You know, it's too much for me. I would prefer I thought that's what when Stone Cold came back. I thought it was gonna be like, you know, when he was fighting Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. I thought it was gonna be like that, and he was just gonna come back, and he was just gonna toss Owens around, and he took like so many. Like, it was a good match, and it went on for a while.
It was so perfect.
And he took,
the way they didn't build it as a match, too, was an interview segment, of course, becomes a match. I thought
but I mean, it's the last thing on wrestling.
Perfect.
Yeah.
They did the perfect. That was the perfect return match. Because at the same time, it almost wasn't a match. Like, they didn't build it as a match, and then a match just happens. Like, oh, that's cherry on top. I thought it was tremendous. The next night with McMahon they could have skipped all that, but
I mean, on the
just very Pat McAfee like that. Just have Vince with those clotheslines. It was so bad.
The funniest thing is that going into it, you're like, all right, for sure, McMahon took the worst stunner of all time. Like, for sure. Like, I haven't seen anybody take it worse. There's been some, but
there's a great Tim White where he just misses him completely, but he just falls behind.
And then you're like, oh shit, McMahon just knocked McMahon out of fucking top spot for worst stunner. Like, so bad, man. McMahon just shouldn't, and I don't think he will be anymore because there's a bunch of shit going on, but enough, man. Like, he's just, it's enough. You don't need any more camera time, bro. That's just what I think, personally. And don't get me wrong, I love Vince McMahon. Like, I've been a fan of WWE for...
He's probably the best heel in wrestling history.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially in the era of, like, the Attitude Era. You know? And I really I think people look at Stone Cold being, like, with McMahon as, like, maybe not the best when he's playing guitar and that kind of stuff, you know?
I love that Kurt Angle stuff. They were such great partners.
It was good, man. What would you say you're like watching the most when it comes to wrestling right now? What's the maybe weekly shows, or what would you say you're watching?
I just moved at the beginning of June in with my girlfriend, and AEW was the only thing I was really watching on a weekly basis, but it has just been taking such a turn, and now that I'm sharing a house with Danielle, I'm just like, I can't make you watch this. This is tough for me to even get through.
Oh, really?
So I haven't watched. I watched the last half of Dynamite. It was the first Dynamite that I've watched since moving in June. But I've just been gobbling up all these Dean Malenko matches. There's so many
I see you. All these gut busters from
those
the top.
Gut busters are so incredible. I don't know why nobody does it.
They look so painful.
They're so deadly. Yeah, I've just been watching Dean Malenko matches and ranking those. God damn, there's a match at Hog Wild, him and Benoit. I think it's like a 5. I've been ranking them with bags of popcorn just because I don't want to do stars. But it's like a on cinema, at the cinema. Tim Heidecker and Greg Turkington. It's like a Siskel and Ebert type show, but it's like a scripted, and they do every movie gets 5 bags of popcorn. So I've just been ranking them with bags of popcorn, but it's such a great match. Yeah, Malenko's amazing, but every match is against either Eddie Guerrero or Rey Mysterio Jr. It's like, so of course they're going to be good, but there's no bad ones with Mysterio. They're all. Anyone who isn't a fan of wrestling, I think there's something you can get out of every single Malenko Mysterio match. They're all good. Yeah, Malenko's a wizard.
He had a great run in WCW, man.
Yeah, that was my. I remember the first time I saw him, because I didn't get WCW. I'm from St. Thomas, so it was all WWF for me growing up, and then around when Hall and Nash came into WCW, CHCH Channel 11 in Hamilton started playing an hour version of Nitro. I didn't even know it was a 3-hour show. It was like they would talk about matches. Like, that didn't happen, but remember seeing Dean Malenko come to the ring for the first time. He was wearing the U.S. belt. I was like, who's this fucking guy? He's like, just no nonsense. The Texas Cloverleaf finisher is the finisher I ended up taking and using it when I was a backyard wrestler. Yeah, really allowed smaller guys to have a bit of a spotlight and be believable wrestlers. He's great.
What else are you watching right now? Non-wrestling wise.
Man, the CTV app just keeps on with these bangers. We're going through the Jeffersons right now. Like, I love sitcoms. I love old, like, 80s and 70s sitcoms.
Yes.
The Jeffersons is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Mother Jefferson, George Jefferson's mom on the show, is just the perfect mother-in-law character where she's, like, sweet and snarky. I'm loving it. But, yeah, during the pandemic, it was just, like... I work at an architectural model making shop, like doing scale models for like condo development and things like that,
oh, okay.
Like small buildings. So, and we have a lot of old timers in the shop. So at the beginning of the pandemic, we were worried for them. It was like, so we ended up shutting down for 38 days, and so I stayed home. And they paid a percentage of our wage or whatever, but. During that time, like I amped up my art production. I was like, I want to trick the universe into thinking that art is my job, you know. Like I was so rigorous with like I'm up and I'm painting by 9 a.m. I'm trying to do a 9 to 5 in the studio. But then like in those downtimes, like what shows can I go through? So I think the first thing I went through was news radio. Like it's amazing. It's one of the best
news radio
programs.
That's with Phil Hartman and Joe Rogan.
Yeah. The ensemble cast is so perfect.
So good.
Andy Dick is so funny in it. Dave Foley from Kids in the Hall.
Yeah.
It's like the best written. The first 3 seasons of it are just unbelievable.
I've seen it.
Maude, the show Maude, is so good. I think for like 1972, 1973. But like in episode 4, Maude has an abortion. Like they deal with all this heavy stuff. It's a Norman Lear program. It's a spin-off from All in the Family. I guess Maude is supposed to be Edith's cousin from. Tuckahoe, New York. It's so incredible. B. Arthur is Maude. Yeah. I highly recommend checking. It's still on the CTV app. I messaged the CTV app because I was 5 seasons into Barney Miller, which I think is my favorite sitcom. It's like it's one office, and I think they have 8 seasons of it. Everything happens in the one office. How do you write something that's so engaging for 8 seasons and you never leave office, and the cast changes a lot and it never hurts the show? But I was up to season 5 and Barney Miller, and it's just gone off the CTV app. So I messaged them. I was like, yo, I'm at season 5 here, and I was like, I'd like closure. Like, how about like a heads up? They never messaged me back. I did the same thing when they took the Munsters off. They put
how many more seasons do they have of that show?
3.
Oh,
3
fuck,
seasons,
eh?
So maybe it'll be back. It'll be back on something. They put the Munsters on around Halloween last year, and then it was gone before November was over. I was like, what are you doing to me? I would have liked to have seen some more Munsters, but...
Rob Zombie's doing
I heard, yeah.
reboot of that. That should be interesting.
Yeah. Going through my New Year's resolution a couple years ago, I just realized I hadn't watched it. I used to be such a movie guy. Like I worked at an independent movie shop in Calgary when you could still rent videos and stuff like that. So I kind of love it as an art form. I'm just like, I haven't seen the movie for the longest time. So my New Year's resolution was just to see more movies that I hadn't seen before. So right now, my girlfriend and I are going through the Batman movies and watching the series, like the 60s series, at the same time.
With Adam West?
It's so good. It's so campy, but done with like a straight face. Like, he's an incredible Batman. But
I love it.
We just watched Batman and Robin, the George Clooney, Joel Schumacher one.
Yes.
And I saw it in the theater. I hadn't seen it since. Man, is Clooney a bad Batman.
Yeah.
Like, I think his acting choice was to just not make any choices. Like, it's the most white bread, no character to him at all.
Well, originally, with that movie, I think it was Schumacher, right? Who did that movie? So Val Kilmer was supposed to be in it.
Who I love as Bruce
last
Wayne.
minute, he
is that right?
He bailed to do another movie, and George Clooney just happened to be Schumacher's friend and was
Right.
like, yeah, like I'll do it.
Oh,
Like he
that
just kind of fell into
completely makes
it.
sense. It seems like he doesn't want to be there.
But I would totally say he's my least favorite Batman.
Yeah,
you
he's
know?
really bad. Yeah, he's worse than Robert Pattinson.
Oh, you didn't like him, eh?
Oh, I felt like the Batman was about 3 hours too long. That was the joke I was going.
I thought, well, I liked it, but
It just
see
seems-
me, I could do the length. I could have done more. You know,
Well,
my
I only
girlfriend
said
thought
it
it was
three
too
hours
long.
too long because it was 3 hours long. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we could have had 0.
Yeah, you didn't want it.
I don't need it.
What did you think of Affleck as Batman?
I like Affleck. I like growing up. Clerks and Mallrats were so big to my development, and Kevin Smith speaks so highly of Affleck that I have a warm spot in. Like I'm always rooting for him. I think he's fine. Like I haven't gotten to those ones yet. I know I saw a couple of them, but
I liked
Justice
him,
League.
man. I thought, as far as looks go, I mean, I think he looks
Oh,
the
yeah, for
most
sure.
like what I think Batman looks like. As a fan of as a person who reads comics and shit, that's what I would say. If you were taking him from the comics and putting him in a movie, he's
Yeah.
the most like him. I think Bale's my favorite, but I just wish
More than Michael
Affleck,
Keaton?
Yeah.
Wow.
I just wish Affleck got his own. I think he had
Yeah.
potential to be the best, and because of how he was really the only Batman that's been done live action that has been this team player Batman.
Yeah.
He's not on his
That is
own, and
kinda
I think it
strange.
would have been nice just to get something where he was, on his own. Maybe they looked like they were gonna do something with Deathstroke.
Right.
That with Joe, fuck, I don't know his name. But did you see the credit scene in Justice League
Something at the end of it,
when
yeah.
Deathstroke comes up and talks to Lex Luthor?
I remember there was something after the movie, but I don't remember what it
Yeah,
was.
that's what it was, and I thought they were gonna do a Deathstroke Batman kind of thing, and then it just
Affleck
never
should
happened.
get his own. Yeah, it's weird to switch to Pattinson. Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot of love for the same style shows that you have. I'm a big sitcom fan too, and more old school style sitcoms. Some of them are decent now, but they still don't really hit. I think the last good sitcom I was into, long running, was probably Last Man Standing with Tim Allen.
Okay.
I enjoyed that, but who's the guy who played George Jefferson?
Sherman Hemsley.
Sherman Hemsley. See, I discovered the Jeffersons backwards because my favorite sitcom is Fresh Prince, and he was on that.
Right, yeah.
And that's how I discovered who he was. And then I found, he has his own show.
Right.
And just, I mean, a legend, man.
It's so funny. It's so well
It's
written.
a great show.
Yeah.
Funny.
Good Times is on the CTV app as well, and the first 3
I don't have the
seasons of
CTV
that.
yet, man.
It's
You're
free.
selling this.
It's so free. It's free, man.
Jeez.
And they just added Miami Vice, the whole run of Miami Vice in the first few seasons.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Well, it's Michael Mann who did Heat and Thief. Have you seen Heat, the movie Heat?
Yeah.
It's Michael Mann, so it's that same vibe. It's awesome. It's so stupid. It's Don Johnson has an alligator living on his boat. He lives on a boat. He's a former college football player, but now he's a vice cop. It's so perfect. I'm really loving it. Al Bundy is in episode 3 as an undercover cop who maybe has gone to the bad side, but they don't know. It's the pilot is the first 2 episodes. It's basically just a movie that then they turned it into a show after that.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, the CTV app is. Check it out. If you have a Chromecast or something, it's easy to stream to your TV or.
I'm definitely going to check it out
It's
now.
awesome.
But as I said, Last Man Standing, I realized... Have you ever heard of Tacoma FD?
No.
This is a show that's 4 seasons deep, and I feel really disrespectful saying Last Man Standing. I just discovered it a couple years ago. Probably, they were, I think, going on season 3, and I, had to go back and watch the first 2 seasons. But it's by, the Broken Lizards.
Okay, yeah.
crew?
Super Troopers?
Yes, the same guys who do that, and this is a fire department.
Oh, okay.
So it's very similar, and you think it would get stale, But the writing is so sharp. Like, these guys are not losing it. I feel like this is, like, the best thing they've ever done.
Right.
And it's, like, the only show I would say that I really am watching season to season. You know?
Right.
I'm actually, right now, I'm going back and watching Lost with my lady. Have you seen Lost?
I had a girlfriend years ago who was watching it, so I would just kind of see it in periphery. So I know enough. Someone was mentioning pasta and talking about penne, and I was like, I love your penne. I've always loved your penne.
That's hilarious.
Whenever someone's talking about penne, I can't not do the stupid voice. I love your penne.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm watching right now. I watched Stranger Things. That was really good.
I really enjoyed season 1. Like, it took a while for it to hook me, but that episode when they pull the body out of the morgue and cut it open and it's all like foam or whatever was inside, I was like, okay, I'm kind of interested in this now. And then when season 2 started, but 2 things happened. The first thing was that they called something PTSD, which I don't think was a term that they used. And I was like, come on, man, that's shell shock in the 80s. And then they also called Kentucky Fried Chicken KFC, and I was out. Like, nobody called it that. And I was like, it was just like, I think I just needed an excuse to stop watching it. It's like, I know what they called it back then, and it was not KFC.
How old are you, man?
41.
41.
I think they only called it KFC after fried food got a bad name, so they needed to take the fried out of it.
I could see that.
Yeah, I was just nitpicking.
I've enjoyed it. The 3rd season, I was like, I don't know, it kind of felt like it was going the way of The Walking Dead, because as seasons went on, I was just less interested, and it became less about what the show was originally about.
Yeah.
And the newest season was phenomenal. I would definitely recommend trying to get on board if you could look back. Fucking
Walking Dead lost me as well.
Yeah.
Some things just, they go longer than they were supposed to just because they're making good money.
And now they're doing like spin-offs, and I'm like, they did the Fear the Walking Dead, and they have like some other one now, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. I fell off for sure. But dude, so I have these snacks that I get from Japan.
Okay.
All right. They don't really have English on them except for that Kit Kat one. So you pick one, I'll pick one. This will really tell you what kind of stuff is in them. Do you have anything you don't eat?
It arrives like this with a...
Yeah, I get it. It's called Tokyo Treat. I only really do it for the podcast. They still haven't sponsored me yet.
I mean, it's funny because I was gonna say, like, I've gotten to these parts in the podcast before, and then I'm just hearing people sucking on candies and talking at the same time, and I just like, it's like whatever, it drives me crazy.
Oh yeah,
so I have to like scroll ahead.
Okay.
Until, like, I hope that they're done eating candy at this point.
Okay, let's try not to get something crunchy. Alright. I'll pick a Kit Kat. Do you have any allergies or anything? You're good?
Oh no.
Yeah, it's funny that you're saying that. I never really thought about it. My girlfriend is actually like super weird, and she like falls asleep to like that shit.
Right.
Like ASMR shit, I guess they call it, you know?
ASMR helped me sleep for a long time too. Like whisper videos. There's one person called, her name's Gentle Whispering. It's just like there's something. I think for me it was just that my brain would just like amp up when I'm trying to go to sleep, and I can't stop thinking about all these other, the rest of my day or what I'm going to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it just kind of gives your brain something to focus on other than tomorrow. God, it helped me sleep for so long. I haven't done it for months, but
this is what you got. Oh, okay. Let's see.
Oh, it's Texas corns. I thought it was going to be something else.
Oh yeah. Try to say that word. Okonomiyaki puffs.
That's perfect. I think you did it.
Right.
Texas corn.
I'm just gonna say it once. So I have
Oh,
to
it's a
butcher
little.
it. What do you think?
It's got a cereal vibe. It's kind of like a corn pop. It's like the
savory corn pop one. It's still a little sweet, but it's a weird flavor. It feels like almost like a
it's like a Funyun a little bit.
Yeah.
Pork rind. It's some type of rendered animal. and corn.
That's all right. I could eat more. Want to try this one?
Yeah.
Now, these Kit Kats, there's a Kit Kat in every one.
I love Kit Kats.
They're hit or miss, bro. I'm going to be honest. It might not be good. Peach?
The Kit Kat Crunchy, or was that what it was called? Chunk. No, that's what it's called. Kit Kat Chunk. What a wealth of chocolate. You know, I love a thick piece of chocolate.
They have a cheesecake one that's pretty good. Have you tried that one?
No.
The Kit Kat Chunky Cheesecake.
Oh, that's funny.
What do you think?
You said peach, but I was expecting the strawberry. It's a lot like the peach sugar candy. What's the word I'm looking for? You know,
the fuzzy peaches?
Fuzzy peaches. There it is.
Yeah.
I got a thing of fuzzy peaches for Christmas one year in high school, and I think I ate almost all of them in one day, and just remember being not good. I like
They're
that
okay.
one.
They're okay. They're on the better side of ones. I've had like pink champagne and like, oh my god, there's just some really bad ones. A few good ones. I would say this is a pass. Peach Kit Kats, they aight. What do you think of these?
Not too much.
No. Not really anything.
Don't take their sponsorship.
Like, what's on the cover? Like a fucking...
I thought it was going to be
taco
some
or
type of
something?
strange meal with like cilantro or something. I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is. Looks like a taco with noodles and like
Maybe like
green
a
onions in
creme
it or some
brulee.
shit. All right, man. Do you want to get into top 5?
Sure, let's do it.
Start with referees.
Okay. Do you want to go first? Do you want to go back
Oh
and
man,
forth?
I'm worried. Okay. I do. I can go first. That's fine.
You don't have to.
No. I don't mind. I just yeah, we'll talk about it. Okay, so Jimmy Corderas is my number 1.
He's great.
And it's just like just an honor to have been, even just for a couple hours, have gotten his attention and got to like, you know, a little bit of his insight and learned from him. And I mean, he's just done like a crazy amount of matches that I would have, you know, loved to have done. Do you have any like dream matches that you would do? Like things that could actually happen right now, like that you would like, I mean, far-fetched. Anybody,
yeah.
the most famous wrestler or not, you know, it could be an indie wrestler, it doesn't matter.
I mean, MJF is so good, and he's the future of wrestling. I don't know if this thing going on with AEW is a work.
That's
or
what
if
I
it's
was
a
going to
shoot.
ask you.
But that's so great too that we don't know. Like,
right.
There's no secrets anymore in
How?
wrestling, and here's a current secret. Like,
right.
He's
and he's been gone since.
Yeah.
There's nothing, and you can't find anything. Tony Khan is not talking about it. Like it's,
which is unusual because he just talks. You know? Yeah. Yeah, and MJF matches. FTR as well. They're so incredible. They're so smart. They get it.
And I've talked about this before, but it's something that I fucking love. MJF, my introduction to him was at Don Koloff. He was there, and Sean Spears was there, and SCU was there.
Right.
And this is like before AEW.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, really close. I think like they were kind of doing like their last indie run before AEW fucking blew up. And he comes out and he's like, I'm very reactive. I'll stand up and boo like in the face. And this guy like smacked my hand, and I was like, I fucking love this guy. And he's so committed. I definitely would say, you know, he's like definitely, who other than MJF, like if you were doing an MJF match, who would you want him to?
Yeah, I mean, CM Punk is the other one who's just, he's came back and he's been doing such great work. I don't know if that's my answer though. What about you?
I'm definitely gonna go with MJF as well.
MJF Cody, whenever that happens again, I think that would be the one.
That would be amazing, right?
Cody left right at the right time. He was getting booed out, and then comes to WWE. I didn't know he was going to be such a huge fan favorite.
I'm so happy for him, though, man.
Yeah.
You know?
That
I developed a lot of respect for Cody, like, through AEW, and, yeah, I'm just happy for him, man.
Yeah, I really hope he has a world title run. I never thought I'd say that. So
I think
so well.
I think he will.
It seemed like they were
logical.
building to it.
Yeah, and with this comeback, win Royal Rumble, you know, with his, I don't know how long it's going to take, but hopefully he can win Royal Rumble and then, you know, WrestleMania, and that's it, man.
That's the story to tell.
Right.
It's the one that the fans seem to want as well.
Okay, so
Jimmy Corderas is your number one?
I feel like, yeah, but I'm thinking about the dream match. Hold on. MJF, and I think, would you consider John Cena still a wrestler?
He's so great.
I would love to see that. I think that's something that could still possibly happen. So
that would be better than Cody. That's a better answer. That U.S. Open Challenge title run that he did, I was so anti-Cena for the longest time, and then he did that Open Challenge with the U.S. title. I was like, fuck, this guy can work. He's so good. His promos, he's like Hogan. He just knows what to say in the perfect short number of words. He really turned me around with that U.S. title challenge run. He's amazing. And, like, probably one of the best people on the planet.
That's what I was going to add as well.
Crazy.
Like, no one has done more Make-A-Wish Foundation things than him.
Yeah.
And even outside of that, he's just, he seems like such a
super
good
smart,
dude.
super
Peacemaker
funny.
Was amazing as well.
I never saw any of it.
Oh, you gotta.
Those promos with him and Santino Marella are so funny as well. God, Santino, the number of people that he's been in the ring with, just running his mouth so perfectly. He's
great.
He's so good.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer.
For sure.
Yeah. As soon as Bianca is in a spot, it's like that's the perfect thing to bring him in as a Hall of Famer. Like and she's so great too. Ariana Grace.
Oh, that's what.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna go Charles Robinson.
Oh yeah.
Is my number 2.
I think he's the best guy working today. The guy's still in the ring.
I mean, since I've started doing reffing, there's like I could have done like honestly, it might seem weird, but I could have done like probably like a 20 if I wanted to, like because I'm just learning more. And then Harry Demerjian. Did I say his last name right? I don't know, but Harry D, man.
Yeah,
like,
I think he goes with D. I think D's the. He's so great.
I fell off wrestling for a while and just was into, before AEW, was just into like indie wrestling. And he was just always the guy. He was there. Every show. People would cheer for him and you're not supposed to do anything.
Yeah.
And I always love hair. Like, George would be at like one side. He talks about this and like he would like do a little heart because people chant his name and shit. And like he's also just has an insane amount of knowledge and is willing to like share it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So definitely him. And then I'm gonna go Earl Hebner is my number 4. And then this is a controversial one. Aubrey Edwards. And I know definitely doesn't have maybe the best reputation in the refereeing community.
She's got a lot of heat right now. Everyone seems to be upset with her.
But like, okay, this is how I look at it. Before, like I said, just got into it 3 or 4 months ago. And before that, I was a fan of her, man. Like, just as a fan. As someone who was ignorant to, what it takes to be a good referee. And I'm not saying she's perfect, She's not my number 1. But, like, I like that she has, like, kind of her own thing. It's like Red Shoes in New Japan.
Right, yeah.
I bet you he got shit on just for Red Shoes for so long. And now it's like, it's fucking Red Shoes. He's, like, the only ref you see in Japan now.
Right.
So, like, I think from a fan's perspective, I enjoy, like, okay, I think it was Stadium Stampede. Have they done 2?
Yeah.
Okay, it was definitely the first one.
Right.
And Aubrey, who, like, is, like, the only ref that does Jericho matches anymore.
Yeah.
She was doing the match, and at some point, like, it was at, like, the Jackson Jaguars Stadium.
Yeah.
And the they're Jericho and her like going back and forth, and then they go into like this tent to like review the footage, dude. I'm fucking dying, man. Like their whole thing back and forth, like, oh no, this happened, blah blah blah. And she was like, no, you can't do that. And they went and looked at like the footage, and they did the whole thing. They put the headsets on, right. I believe, and like they were looking at it, and I thought it was good. I didn't think. I mean, there's not a lot of referees that would or could do that.
No, she's so talented. I'm rooting for her, but there's something like Bryce Remsburg does it, but then so does like Mark Curtis, Brian Hildebrand, where I think everyone's a big Mark Curtis fan. Like he did Smoky Mountain, he was in WCW later on, and a great ref, but would mime a lot of the action in the ring, and that's something that Remsburg and Aubrey both do as well, and I think that's kind of what they get most criticisms about their work, like do less.
I think for me, I think Bryce is a little. I think he's trying to do what Aubrey does.
He's too much.
He might even be doing the exact amount, but he just doesn't do it as well.
Yeah.
You know, but I definitely can see that Aubrey is a little extra. I see that, you know, especially as I'm learning more. Like I'm not, but I think as a fan, it's got to hold a little bit of weight because before I knew anything, I was into it.
She was the only referee with any real authority at the beginning of AEW. She would get in their face.
That's fair.
And like, she's doing an amazing job. Like, yeah, I'm a fan also.
But you're just like, what do you think is the main problem that people have with her? Just her overreacting?
I think it's interesting because I think she has a ballet background or some type of dance background, and so she's thinking about, just because her past art form, like she's thinking about silhouettes and the shape of her body, and I think she does kind of these poses a little bit too much. That I think that's what people kind of get on, where it's like it calls attention to the referee in a strange way that I don't think she was doing that earlier in her AEW run. But she has these great, like she'll get up and there's stuff in her game that's really good that I try to emulate some of it too, but I think it's a little bit too much of the pose offs with doing the shapes, but it's her other art form, so it's like I think I should just shut my mouth and let her figure out what works for her in the ring. And it's so hard to referee in AEW anyway. Like, there's no real respect for the rules. Like, they just
it's weird, and it's like one thing that I really for me, AEW has kind of brought back a lot of my love for wrestling, and like the first pay-per-views I've paid for in like 10 years have been AEW. I've paid for every single one since they started.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can't find a stream?
I could, man, you know, but we've had some problems, and it's just like, hey, man, like I usually watch it with my buddy Steve, so we're just like, let's just split it, and then we don't have to deal with the headache of like
finding the new one
or whatever, you know. So, but my thing with her, and maybe not just with her, maybe with AEW in general, is the lack of like they go out. And sometimes the referees don't even count.
Yeah.
That's something that's really frustrating.
And then that trickles down to us because the wrestlers that we're working with
expect
see that and think that. And then I get to 9, and it's like, someone better roll into the ring, because it's like, I'm going to say 10 and then ring the bell. And
I love Jim Ross, but he'll like address it sometimes and be like, oh, I love how the referee's just letting them go at it. I'm like, no, man. No. Like, this is not good for the story. Like, all right, so what do you think? Top 5?
Tim White is my favorite. He just passed away.
Yeah,
but
great.
He's just like, he looks like an angry high school ref. Great authority in the ring. Great bumper as well when he needed to. And plus, like, being best friends with Andre the Giant, like, he must have been cool, you know? I love Tim White. He's great. Number 2, I think, is Earl Hebner. Just so many interesting stories. Such great authority in the ring as well. Getting in referees' faces. Or wrestlers' faces.
Oh, yeah. I know.
3, Charles Robinson. I think he's the best guy working today. Little Nate. took a wicked power bomb, I think, from Sid. Like, just a good bumper too, and it seems like an interesting guy. Like horror movies, like he's got like his house is like pinhead sculptures, and just it seems like a perfectly weird guy who's like right in his element.
I love that, perfectly weird. That's a great phrasing.
The Edge Randy Orton match a couple WrestleManias ago, when I think it was billed as like the greatest wrestling match of all time. Like that was like the match name. It was like a closed set, but Charles Robinson was the ref for that match, and he was just the perfect guy. He called it down the line. He did such a great job. For I think Dave Hebner, that double referee title switch with Hogan and Andre, I think is the greatest angle in wrestling history. It's the greatest world title switch, in my opinion. It's just so have you seen that one?
I don't know. I might have, but
it was their rematch from WrestleMania, I think, WrestleMania 3, before the WrestleMania 4 match, where they fast count Hogan's shoulders to the mat. Like his shoulder was up, and they kept counting. And then there's two refs in the ring because they're twins. Mm-hmm. Which one's Dave Hebner? You know, like, how much money on their plastic surgery, man? Like he throws it, and Andre gets the title and gives it to DiBiase.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that.
It's my favorite angle in wrestling. But Dave Hebner, you go back and watch 1982 Mid-Atlantic, and he's working. I've never seen a more athletic referee. Like he's just flying. He kind of reminded me of Ken Kensington, an HWE. I think he reps with HWE.
Yeah.
God, he's good too. Like Ken Kensington, like just a great authority. He seems like he knows all the rules. Like I'm like, this guy knows shit I don't know. Like I gotta like.
Yeah, and even still, he's like, I'm still learning, and he has all this. Like, he's a good guy.
He's like a young Dave Hebner. Dave Hebner is great. And then number 5 is Jimmy Corderas. He's so smart, and that seminar was so great as well. Just like the inside, because he's been everywhere and done everything. And I had a question during the seminar that I didn't want to ask. It felt a little bit too marky to ask, but afterwards I mentioned it to him because I'd gone back and watched the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels Screwjob match, and he plays a huge part. Jimmy Corderas is a huge part of that match. So my question, there's a part in the match where Hart and Michaels go into the crowd to fight, but the Montreal crowd is fucking angry. Like they're going for it, and they couldn't even really fight into the crowd. But it seemed like they had planned to anyway, so then they just go back over the barrier and fight around. And that's when Corderas was there, kind of as like there was a bunch of refs outside of the ring. So I asked him, like, it seemed like they wanted to go to the crowd. Like, was that crowd really as hot as it seemed like on TV? And he said it was great. And he said, so he was at, he gave me a little insight. I think it was because I asked him in private just about it. He was like, I was back at Gorilla at the very end of the match, and Bruce was there, and he didn't say anything. So, but I could hear in my headset, say, okay, ring the bell. So he's like, so somebody else knew that that this screw job was going to happen, because it wasn't Bruce who said it, because I could see him. Mm-hmm. So I think it was like probably Kevin Dunn in the truck. It's like there's always these questions like who was in on it, who knew it was going to happen, and he was just like, yeah, someone in the truck knew because they called. Here comes the bell. Here comes the finish. Mm-hmm. It's like, what a weird insight to and then it's a shame with that match because it's I think they were on their way to a 5 bag of popcorn match. Like it was a perfect brawl that just got cut down. It seems like they were maybe like 2/3 of the way through the match when the finish happened, but man, they were on their way to something really great. Yeah, that's
still good, but that will always overshadow the performances.
Yeah. They still ended up with a 4 bag of popcorn match.
All right, man. So artists, and it's just like I don't know if you can do whatever you as sculptors. You're probably way deeper in the art world than I am. Did you want to go first?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a painter. I think by trade. I went to the Alberta College of Art and Design. I did a semester at Yale University, and I did my master's at University of Guelph, which is like the craziest program I've ever been through. It's kind of like the top program in Canada. It's rigorous. Everybody loses their mind. So that's really my main focus. And during grad school, it was hard. I didn't really know how to I thought grad school was going to teach me how to like have a practice and build on it for the rest of my life, and then I realized, oh no, I need a project-based thing, because I was noticing everyone was using these texts to what's the word, hiccup, contextualize their own practice by kind of tying themselves to some written work. And I'd always been a fan of this Roland Barthes essay called The World of Wrestling. It's from 1957. He was a French theologian, but he wrote this essay breaking down theater wrestling, as he called it, and explaining why it works. And the main thing about it was that, like, talking about the law of retaliation, everything I say about wrestling is really from this Barthes essay, which I gave a copy of to Carew. It's like this, it just seems like a great essay to read for everybody who cares about wrestling. But one of the things in it is that he says that a performance of wrestling never needs to be explained to the audience, because everything that happens in the ring hinges on these human laws, like the good guy, bad guy, and stuff like that. So I thought, well, if I can take my practice and use this structure in this essay, maybe I can make work that I never have to talk about. You know, it's kind of a joke, but in a serious way. So getting super engaged in narrative work, that's kind of where my practice is now as an artist. But I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but top 5 artists.
That's there.
Yeah, I thought Philip Guston, it was a Canadian painter, died in 1980, kind of had 3 amazing bodies of work. Kind of started as a mural painter and then moved into abstract expressionism. He went to high school with Jackson Pollock. Like his family moved from Montreal when he was young, moved to California. So, and then the last part of his career was this like cartoon, like real garish pink canvases. He's incredible. There's a book about him. Is it called Night Studio, that maybe his daughter wrote, where it's like you read about these artists and you're like, oh, I hate you. Like you're just kind of like, yeah, it's rare that you read about artists and you like them more afterwards, but the work is so good. You know, Cézanne is another one who you read about them and you realize, oh, this guy's just like the biggest mooch and liar of all times. Like, but goddamn, those paintings are good. But yeah, so I think Guston is number 1 for me. Annie Pootoogook, who is I think she was living in Ottawa. She passed away, but she won the Sobey Award in maybe 2004, I think. Just these amazing little drawings. They're so violent, like interior scenes of just abuse and alcoholism and drug abuse. Like, it's all there. And they're so dark and beautiful. I met her in Ottawa. I was just walking by Rideau Mall, I think it's called, and I look over. I was like, because I'd heard that she was homeless. She was kind of like on the news and stuff at the end of her life. I was like, I think that's Annie Pootoogook. And a guy, her boyfriend Bill, was like, yeah, that's her. I was like, I didn't even know anyone was sitting over there. So I went over and introduced myself, and she was pregnant. I think she was pregnant and homeless at the time, and I think that's the news was really reporting that kind of stuff. And just like shook her hand, and she had the most delicate little hand. I held it in 2 hands, like to talk to her about like the Sobey Award and how her work. Like, she was the Canadian Goya. Like, her work is so dark. She had a show at the McMichael a couple years ago, like a retrospective that was just like awe-inspiring. But she could be my number 1 as well. She probably is. Alexander Calder, who invented the mobile, is my number 3. If there's one piece of art, there's a British podcast that talks about art, where they say at the end of it, like an art heist. If you could steal one artwork and get away with it, what would it be? And I always think for me it would be this. He had this circus that he would perform in French. Like, he was an American guy, but would perform this dumb circus, and just his daughter has no memories of him speaking about art. He's one of those kind of guys that just like famously showed up for an exhibition, like with a spool of wire. Like, where's the work? He's like, oh, I'm going to make it right now. Like, just made these crazy shapes. And I think Duchamp might have been the one who named his mobiles. And then there was ones that didn't move, that stood on the ground. And I think maybe Duchamp named those are the stabiles. But he's just so much fun and so much play in his work. So Calder's number 3. I mean, Robert Gober, an American artist who had a show at MoMA. It's the best show I've ever seen in my life. It was called, what was it called? The Heart Is Not a Metaphor, I think was the name of the show. But like waterfalls and things like, there were so many different things going on in the show that are uncanny, and these beds that aren't the right size, weird sculpture, wax bodies coming out of walls, just these rooms with all taps running. Just incredible. Robert Gober, he's incredible. And then number 5, I was just like, I mean, Van Gogh is the drawing and the writing. His writing is so beautiful. There's a bunch of different publications of it, but his letters with his brother Theo, there's a bunch of, some of them are called Dear Theo. You just get a sense that this guy was so thoughtful and thinking about color. Like, we think he's just a crazy that just happened upon his stuff, but he's like strict color theory, and he knows why you use black and you don't use black, and it's like about the amount of color at nighttime is just like way more than in the daylight, and I was really like big on working from direct observation, painting and drawing from life, and I got all that kind of stuff from Van Gogh. It's like, I mean, Van Gogh and Picasso are on everybody's list. I was like, I gotta put one of them on there. So I can't deny Van Gogh. Did you see there's a newer Julian Schnabel movie where Willem Dafoe plays Van Gogh?
No.
I don't want to give anything away, but like the idea that I didn't know that they found out how he died. Like, what we think happened to him isn't what happened to him. Like the famous popular story about him painting that crow painting and then going into the field and shooting himself. That wasn't how he died. Like, this movie has the new information that makes it like his life even sadder. I don't want to give it. It's worth a look.
I'll check it out. Yeah.
I think it was on Crave. I can't remember what it was called. Into the Abyss or something strange like that. Really good.
All right.
Yeah. Just like, yeah, I don't want to give anything away, but he didn't die the way we thought he died, and it's like, it's so much sadder. It's like, but it's also more beautiful too. It's like, he's just a really good guy. He was a really good guy. But anyway, what about
I like Defoe as well.
Yeah, he's great.
I think he could do that.
In Wild at Heart, the David Lynch movie, Wild at Heart, he's got these baby teeth. It's a Nick Cage movie.
Yeah.
Incredible. Willem Dafoe in it is the most reprehensible, disgusting. He plays old Bobby Peru. Like, oh, he's so good. You can hear a deep sound come out of old Bobby Peru when he's peeing in the bathroom. Come and take a listen. You hear a deep sound come out of old Bobby Peru to what's her name? Laura Dern is in it as well. She's great in it. Just over the top. Wild at Heart. Check it out.
Wild at Heart. All right.
Sorry, I was running my mouth.
No, man, it's fine.
Okay,
no, it's totally good. That's what we're here for. Mine is a little, like, I'm a comic book guy. So my first one is Greg Capullo. It's probably like, he's the guy who did my favorite run of Batman. Like, Volume 2 of Batman, which was like during the New 52 era.
When's
and I met him, which was really cool.
When's the New 52 era? Is that?
In 2010s, let's say. It's not too long ago.
Right.
You know? I'm
when
not
they,
sure
when
specifically.
They killed Robin,
maybe I should know. But yeah, Volume 2. They're on Volume 3 right now, so. Now we're going to go Mike Shinoda, who is
I think
better
I've heard
known.
You mentioned him before on the podcast.
Yeah, maybe. He's like my favorite musician, and he's better known as like the rapper from Linkin Park.
Okay.
But like he does a lot of like cool graffiti style murals where he'll do like whole walls and just draw like a face and then just like different things to fill the wall in, like with you know, like a black Sharpie, and then he'll do the same thing but with like a white Sharpie, with different things, and just, I don't know, he does a lot of like cool graffiti style art, maybe not traditional, I don't know what you would call it, but for me, it mostly looks like graffiti, a lot of like dripping paint,
right,
and things like that, but yeah, he's amazing. And that's like, I'm not even thinking about like his music side, I'm like, for me, these are all just like visual artists, and then I'm going number 3, Aaron Tagger, who is just an underappreciated treasure from Toronto, who passed away a couple years ago, and I have a big piece of his like above my bed. It's like the biggest thing I have, like a lot of stuff on my walls. It's like the biggest piece I have, and like he was also on Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Okay.
He was Dr. Vink, like that old creepy guy, like in all of the Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I saw that guy I lived in the Beaches in like 2012 at, what is the restaurant called? The Green Eggplant. He was in the Green Eggplant one day when we were in there. It's just like, I think it's the guy from Are You Afraid of the Dark? Yeah. I don't know. Anyway.
Just super sweet guy, and we could even talk like he was like into theater and stuff like that,
right.
And went to his house before he passed away a few times, and the first time was like this like crazy art show,
right,
and he just had it at his house, and like, man, going in, just everything was just covered in art.
Yeah.
Whether it's just like a little fucking postcard with some sort of drawing like stapled to like the banister of his stairs as you go up, like there was very little empty wall space,
Yeah.
Books everywhere, and like he was the kind of guy his whole basement was just like things, and so I guess like a lot of younger kids kind of gravitated towards him because he was like willing to share like what he knew, and they just really appreciated what he brought to the table.
Mentoring is the most important thing on the planet. Being a mentor to some interested young mind, it's just like, it's so valuable.
Well, there was a lot of like people that kind of looked at him as a mentor, I think, and they were just like, hey man, like you gotta start selling. He was having like health problems, and he has all this art that's worth like just money, man. He's so talented, and they were the people that got him into like, trying to put on these art shows and stuff, and so he's my number 3. Definitely, if you haven't, if you don't know who he is,
I'll check it out.
Yeah. Aaron Tagger. Jim Lee, another comic artist, is my number 4, and I'm gonna go Salvador Dali for my number 5. And like he was, I got into him in like my drug days, like years and years and years ago. I've been sober for like over 10 years now, and I still haven't lost my love for him. There's a lot of things that I'm like, I can't go to raves now. I don't do drugs. Like I'm not doing that shit. But I still hold on to my love for Dali.
And like a technical mastery of paint. His sculptures are so weird and great. He himself is so weird. Like the story about I think he was like 3 or something, and his parents took him to a grave, and it said Salvador Dali on it. And like, what? Like, it's because they had a child die, like a baby. Yeah. And his name was Salvador Dali. And so then when they had a new baby, they just named him the same name. Like, imagine going to your own grave as a child.
That's crazy.
Like, what is it? Like, just right from the get-go, he was in a weird headspace.
That's so strange.
It's so weird.
And if that did, like, why would you bring him there? Like, okay.
Exactly.
The story of you naming your next son the same thing and just kind of pretending the first one. Why would you bring him? Like, there's some weirdness there. Yeah. Let's do Steve Martin movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like Steve Martin, man. And you said The Jerk was your favorite, and I'm like,
yeah.
If I was doing a top 10, it would be on there, but it's not in my top 5, so don't kill me.
If I could only watch one movie for the rest of my life, I have to pick one movie.
Yeah.
I'm going with The Jerk. Like it has it's so well written. It's so stupid. It's so sweet and beautiful. Three Amigos, which I just saw in the last couple of years, and really realized like I was listening to Martin Short talk about it on a podcast recently. There's the David Spade, Dana Carvey podcast where they just kind of have like some Saturday Night Live guys on, but they just tell the greatest stories. But he's talking about how a bunch of stuff in that movie was just ad-libbed, and there's stuff with Steve Martin because he can do like rope tricks and things like that. It's like including that in the movie. It's so ridiculous. Like, have you seen Three Amigos?
No.
They're three Hollywood movie stars from like the 20s or something, but they think they're going to film a movie in Mexico where they think everything is part of the movie, but they're really just like in danger the whole time because they have these stupid hats on. Their outfits are they're hilarious. It's a real beautiful movie, Three Amigos. And what's his name? I Love L.A., the singer. He did the Monsters Inc. songs as well. Randy Newman. Randy Newman wrote Three Amigos. It's like, okay, just the musical part? I don't know. It's just so interesting that Randy Newman wrote Three Amigos. Number 3, I think Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
That's a good
John
one, too.
Candy being a shower ring salesman, like, it's so strange. It's so sad. There's just like these deeply human moments where like John Candy's just, his feelings are hurt in the movie and you can see it. It's like, what a great actor. I'm just going through SCTV right now. I'm at season 2. I'm about to finish season 2. It is brilliant. It's so crazy and stupid. Like, sometimes the show has no point at all, and like credits roll halfway through the show because it's like it's so combative as a show. It's like it wants you to change the channel. It's like, it's so smart. I love combative art where they try to make you hate the people that you're supposed to hate, you know, like season 2 of Girls, where you leave it hating every single person. Like, why am I still watching this? I hate every character, but in a good way, in a way that they're trying to write. Yeah, SCTV. Yeah, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is number 3. I think I put Little Shop of Horrors at 4, where he plays like just like a masochistic or maybe sadistic dentist. And I'm not I kind of hate musicals, but that one, I remember the same friend that I first saw Hogan get avalanched by Bundy. At his house, he had Little Shop of Horrors. We watched it so many times. The monster's great. Rick Moranis is hilarious.
Yeah, I love him. I hear he's coming back. They're doing a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids show.
Oh, really? Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I'm just excited that Rick Moranis is kind of doing something. And if he's in it, there's, I think, hope that it could be good.
I'm excited to get to his seasons of SCTV. He's not on the show yet. Martin Short's not there by season 2 either, but I'm looking forward to it. And then I think I put, at number 5, I put the Pink Panther. Was that my at 5?
Yeah, I think so.
At 5, I put the Pink Panther, which I love the original Pink Panther, but I wanted to hate the Steve Martin ones, but I remember I've only seen it the first time I saw it. I thought, oh, it's perfectly stupid again. Hamburger, it's just so dumb. I just appreciate good dumb art.
I do too, man. Have you seen Man vs. Bee?
No.
Oh my god. Everyone I talk to hasn't seen it, dude. It's Rowan Atkinson.
I'm going through
And
Mr. Bean right now.
It's like a really short, like each episode's like 10 to 12 minutes long, and there's only like 9. You know, so it's basically just the length of a movie, but it's so funny. It's the silliest shit. Like, it's just him, you know, trying to catch this bee, and just getting worse and worse, and you're like, oh, for sure it's not going to get worse than this. But it does, and it's perfectly done, man.
I think I'm at like episode 7 of Mr. Bean right now. It's free to stream on Tubi. There's just like a commercial for all these free streaming services.
That was going to be CTV ad, baby.
No, it's on Tubi. It's so funny.
Yeah, he's good, man.
I think there's only 13 episodes of it too, like all together. It's like, it's so legendary. How do you do that with only 13 episodes?
It's all I really, even in this, you're like, oh, that's a Mr. Bean moment.
Yeah.
You know, it's all you can really see.
When Friends stole that turkey on the head, psych.
Oh, yeah. What are we doing? See Martin movies?
Yeah.
Okay, I am going Sergeant Bilko.
Okay.
For number 1.
Phil Hartman. I don't think I ever saw Sergeant Bilko.
Oh no, man. That was like, I mean, it just, I think it's his funniest movie. And then I'm going Bowfinger.
Was that with Eddie Murphy?
Eddie Murphy, yeah.
I don't think I've seen that one either.
Oh my goodness! Oh, it's so funny. It's one of Eddie Murphy's best movies too. Then Father of the Bride. It's I think a 90s movie. I remember watching it with my nana. She thought it was really funny, and so it holds.
Yeah.
It's like Grumpy Old Men. It's like it just holds like a special place in my heart because I watched it with, And then I'm gonna go with The Big Year, which is one with Owen Wilson and Jack Black.
Okay.
And they're like bird watchers. All right, I guess we'll we were back and forth with this one, live action Disney movies.
Right.
And we were just gonna do Disney, and then we were animated Disney, and then I was like, hey, how about Pixar? And then I felt like switching to Pixar was too late and shit. And then you said, well, I have mostly live action, which is weird because I'm more of a live action Disney fan myself.
Yeah.
But usually I feel like people lean towards the animated.
I had 101 Dalmatians was the one that I had the animation that was on the list, but it was easy to clip.
Yeah. So what do you think?
I kind of forced it in because I was talking to my friend Patrick Krzyzanowski, who, interestingly enough, he's a painter as well, but he was putting a clip together of Beavis and Butthead just when they're nice to each other. He was trying to edit something like that, just like. It seems like such a weird thing to watch. I never saw it. He was just telling me about it the other day, but I was telling him about the podcast and telling him my Disney list, and he's like, what is it? There's like Amoeba, What's in Your Bag? People go record shopping, and then sometimes musicians like just have like the most like hoity-toity, like, I'm listening to it's all symphonies or something. And I was looking at my list, I'm like, oh fuck, am I trying to seem too smart? Like,
whatever you like though, man.
Yeah.
Who cares?
I mean, my number one is like my definite number one.
Yeah.
Return to Oz. So with the Fairuza Balk, I think 1985. Like, I remember my Aunt Paula getting so mad because my cousins watched it and was like, it's not even a kid's movie. It's terrifying. It's so good and so dark. Like, and it's still good today. It's terrifying. Like, she's going through shock treatment. Like, Return to Oz is incredible. I don't know if I
haven't seen it.
It's so good. I have it on VHS if you have a VCR set up. But it's definitely my number one. The one I forgot about when you think about live action, I think it was the made for TV Alice in Wonderland. It was like a 2-part Alice Through the Looking Glass, but it had like Carol Channing and Sammy Davis Jr. was in it. It's just this crazy studio live action Alice in Wonderland that I just remember when I was a kid and rewatched it because the CTV app, I think it was free on there. I think I watched it during the pandemic. Love it. It's still so good. Carol Channing's character is so strange. Jam tomorrow, jam yesterday, but never any jam today. And then she turns into a goat. I don't know. It's really great.
I just watched The Wiz.
I've never
recently,
seen it.
Like a couple months ago for the first time. That's a trip. That's a weird one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it like Diana Ross and Michael
Jackson and I can't remember everybody, but that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. So number 3, I went through like what are Disney movies, and I went through this list, and there was a movie on there that I had it on VHS when I was in high school, and I loved it. It's just like a stupid college movie where they go on like a scavenger hunt, but it's like David Naughton and Michael J. Fox. I think it's his first movie, but it's a movie called Midnight Madness that they didn't even put the Disney name on the box until later on. I was just kind of looking like, why didn't I know this was a Disney movie? There's nothing about it that says Disney at all. It's just like kind of like a dumb slapstick college movie in the vein of Revenge of the Nerds. But I just remember I genuinely really liked it in high school. I was like, well, it's outside the box pick. I don't know how it holds up, but apparently there's still a bunch of scavenger hunts that use that movie as like the framework for I don't know, some dumb college scavenger hunts.
Okay.
Midnight Madness. Number 3. Oh, I put the Mighty Ducks. I had Mighty Ducks is so good. Is it Gordon Bombay?
Yep.
Yeah, you can't hate on the Mighty Ducks. It's kind of the perfect quack. When I would play beer league hockey, every once in a while, quack. It's like it carries forward. And then the last one I put on there was The Straight Story. It's the Richard Farnsworth won the Academy Award for it, but he had already passed away. It's David Lynch's Disney movie, where Richard Farnsworth wants to go and see his brother because his brother's sick, but he can't drive. He's had his license taken away, so it's a true story. He drives his riding lawnmower across the state to go see his brother.
Okay,
it's weird and dark and sad. It doesn't feel like a David Lynch movie. That was my top 5. I wanted to put Popeye on there, but I haven't seen it since I was a kid. The Robin Williams live action Popeye, but I haven't seen it recently enough to be able to vouch for it.
I love Robin Williams. He has so many good movies too, man. All right, number 1, I'm going Cool Runnings.
Oh, funny! I forgot about that one.
Yeah, love that one. And I tried to stay traditional. I know Disney owns all the Fox stuff, and Home Alone's my favorite movie of all time, and technically that's Disney now, but for me, I don't look at that as a Disney movie. They even put
Star Wars as Disney.
Yeah, I don't know.
Empire Strikes Back is not a Disney movie.
No, I'm sorry, guys. So Cool Runnings, number 1, and then Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is my number 2.
I almost had it on there too.
Mighty Ducks is also on my list. That's number 3. And I like all 3, and they even have a Disney Plus series. It's mediocre, but I've seen both seasons. I think they have 2 seasons, or just maybe 20 episodes. I don't know, but I've seen it. And then I'm going The Santa Claus.
Okay.
With Tim Allen, which they're also... I mean, there's very few original ideas in Hollywood, so they're doing a show based on The Santa Claus now.
Right.
But that original movie... And it's funny because I rewatched it last year, dude. And there's just straight up a scene where he's on the roof and you could see his harness on him and the thing's hanging him. And I'm like, how did I never notice this before? And my girlfriend was the one that pointed it out. I'm just caught up in nostalgia, and she's like, was that? And I was like, no way. And it was, dude. And it's bad. It's so obvious.
I love continuity errors in movies. It's just make them so much more interesting.
No, but it is, yeah. There's also... my favorite trilogy is The Dark Knight, and there's a few ones in that too.
Lloyd Kaufman, the guy who runs Troma Studios that did Toxic Avenger and everything.
Yeah.
He would just filmmaker advice. The line that continuities for pussies. I love that attitude.
All right, that was 4. That's hilarious though. Angels in the Outfield. It was really hard for me to pick a number 5 because I do like so many.
Yeah. But
I was just thinking about ones that I've seen the most, and it has been quite a while since I watched Angels in the Outfield. Actually, I just watched Rookie of the Year again.
Oh,
that
one was
funny.
big. All I wanted to do was fall on a baseball and have a good arm after that one.
Yeah, right?
Funky butt loving. Did he say funky butt loving?
Yeah. But yeah, that's my number 5, Angels in the Outfield. Superheroes. I'll go through mine quick because this is the one that I do every episode.
Yeah.
Number 1, Batman. Number 2, I've given to the complete team of the Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah,
I never thought
just because they freaking play. Well, I mean, technically it's 4 things.
Donatello's my turtle.
That's it. My guy's Raphael. But I love all of them. I think they're just that they feed off each other so well, and they're a great team. I'm hoping that eventually they get another live action thing going that's actually decent. Because as far as it goes, a lot of most of the time, even when it's like we were talking about Batman, I love Michael Keaton. I do, and he's coming back, and he's going to be Batman.
I heard that.
But, like, most of the time, I'm like, yeah, like, these, like, when they redo certain, like, characters, I'm generally in favor of the current thing.
Right.
Like, generally, but, like, Ninja Turtles is one that I still love the 90s ones. No matter how often they do it or what they do, animated or whatever.
We just rewatched the first two recently, and it's like, it's kind of a perfect episode of the cartoon. Like, it's written the same way, and it translates perfectly.
Third one,
Yeah, Turtles in Time. It's on the Is that part 3?
Yeah, it is part 3, yeah.
That one, we're going to watch that one next.
It's okay, but, you know, it's not, like, the first two are just almost perfect movies.
And they look great. The Jim Henson studio just hit a home run.
The music in them is good.
Splinter.
Like, so much stuff about them.
Yeah, Vanilla Ice in part 2.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man.
Great.
Like, yeah, that was...
Yeah, the best Diesel match was the Super Shredder, where he just you know that Kevin Nash he just suicides himself underneath the dock. Like, that was an accident.
Okay, so Ninja Turtles number 2. Red Hood is my number 3.
Okay.
4 is Arsenal, and then 5 is Spider-Man.
It's funny, I just mentioned the Toxic Avenger. That Toxic Avenger is my number 1.
Nice.
It's just so insane that they were able to take a movie that was just so violent, such like a weird B horror movie, and then make a children's show out of it. The Toxic Crusaders cartoon about these like environmental the first superhero from New Jersey. I love that first Toxic Avenger movie is one of my favorites. Number 2, I love Peter Parker. Like think about the comic books. That was really the comic that really got me. I just love what a nerd he is. He wants to help his aunt. I love Peter Parker's. Yeah. They never make him cool, and I think that's so perfect.
Out of the live action Spider-Man, who do you think is the best?
I mean, the Tobey Maguire ones, he's so good. I never saw there's somebody Garfield.
Yeah, you didn't see those ones?
I haven't seen that one yet. Okay. But I have seen the most recent one. He's really good too, whatever the new guy's name is.
Maguires were special though, right? Because they were pre this explosion of superheroes. So there's like, now Marvel has like a formula, and they're pretty... Like, it's most of their movies are basically the same thing with different characters, I find. Most of them.
Yeah.
You know, and this was pre-formula.
And having Sam Raimi as the director, I mean, that's going to help all over. And Randy Savage.
Yeah. What was his name in the fucking...
Bonesaw or
Bonesaw. I think it was Bonesaw. Yeah.
That's great. Number 3, I put Batman. You can't... I'm really loving the 60s Batman series. It's so perfectly done. We were thinking that, like, because that Batman and Robin is so campy and so much in that world of that 60s Batman series, except for they used the black suit in the Batman. Like, that would have been a perfect time for the gray suit, blue shorts. Clooney should have been Adam West. Like, that's the Batman cool. He should have been. They did do
a movie based on the show, though. Like on the
Adam West show? I haven't found it yet. With the shark repellent. Yes. I'm looking for it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I can't find it to stream anywhere, but I'm gonna get it. Number 4, I put Flash Gordon.
Nice.
That 1980 Flash Gordon movie is one of my favorite superhero movies. It's Queen does the whole soundtrack. It's so cartoonish, and I just love it. Ming the Merciless, Max von Sydow as Ming the Merciless is just incredible. But just like the New York Jets superhero gets sucked through a time warp and ends up on a weird dimension. Yeah, Flash Gordon is an incredible movie. And number 5, I kind of went with a dark horse. I wish I'd thought of the Ninja Turtles because Donatello, but I just watched The Tick. I'd never seen the Tick series with David Puddy.
On Amazon.
I think it was on the CTV app.
I think, of course it was.
I think they just took it off though. But it's only
you work for CTV, Brandon.
It's only like 9 or 10 episodes, but there's a character on it named Batmanuel, who's like a Lothario, just like a lover boy. Batmanuel. He's got those big bad ears. There's something so funny about just the pun of Batman as well.
It's funny,
So I put Batmanuel as number 5. The Tick was a good series. It was ahead of its time. Not great, but like it would have made more sense now. But yeah, Putty was great. Whatever that actor's name is, David Putty from Seinfeld.
It might even be the show that I'm thinking of. Is it like more modern? It's not. Is it? Or is it?
It was
like
in the 90s.
Okay, then no. There's because they redid it, Amazon, and it's all right. And there was a Tick cartoon back in the day as well.
Yeah, I remember the Tick cartoon.
All right, dude. Well, we can wrap her up with these. Each card kind of has like 2 questions on it, and yeah, you pick one, I'll pick one, and
super.
We'll do that. You can answer your questions.
I've only been listening to the podcast, so I heard these parts in the podcast, but I wasn't sure where it was coming from.
All right. Okay. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Have you ever been in a fight? What happened?
Oh, I've been in plenty of fights. Like it's been a while, mostly like high school stuff, and a lot of it was just people that like I look a little strange now, but like I looked a lot stranger. Don't get me wrong, I thought I looked awesome back then, but people would, definitely a little off-putting,
right.
to people that were not used to people that look like me. I don't know. So I would get bullied a lot, but I was kind of the guy who was just like, I don't give a fuck, let's go. And so it was a lot of me just not letting people, like I remember I got in a fight in like class one time.
Right.
Because I had like a red mohawk.
Yeah.
And this guy was calling me like Big Red and like started throwing like paper balls at me, bro. Yeah. And I didn't say anything at first. Like I heard him. Like he wasn't trying to get my attention with the name. Like he was saying it pretty quietly, and then he started throwing the balls, and I let like the first 2 go. And then after like the third one, I just got up and literally like just went at him, and the teacher just fucking kind of went to the phone, called like down to the principal or whatever, and like a bunch of people came up, and it was wild, man. So I haven't gotten in a fight in a long time. I try to avoid that. I definitely don't think that 99.99% of the time violence isn't the answer, but I've definitely been in situations where like if I didn't choose some sort of aggressive path, it would have gotten worse.
For sure.
So, yeah. What about you?
Man, the first thing I thought of, I started this horrific bar fight once in Saskatchewan. I thought someone was going to lose their life. It was so terrifying. I was I was at the bar, and there was this guy, we were drinking next to him for a few hours, and then he was like an iron worker from Orangeville. It was in this town called Goneau, Saskatchewan. Mm-hmm. And then he just starts off with this racist stuff, N-word, this and that, and I'm just like, okay, buddy, I hear you. I just wish you'd shut the fuck up. Like, I don't know. I want to keep talking to you. And he just rushed me, like, immediately, like, throat to the wall. And he's a beast, like, thick forehead, He's someone who's a warrior, built to... In another time, he would have been a warrior. Just punching me, and then my girlfriend came over, and she was punching him in the head. And luckily, I had just started as the town Zamboni driver. And a bunch of the hockey players were there, and I didn't know them.
So Canadian, bro.
I didn't know them yet, but they obviously knew who's driving the Zamboni, and I think that because of that, they kind of like came to my aid, and it just began this bar fight that lasted hours. Like, oh, it was horrible. Like, the guy, oh my God, neon tubes from the pool table smashed across faces. Mm-hmm. He got choked out, stood up, and like bleeding everywhere, and he's like, I'm coming, and he starts pissing him, like he wakes up and pisses him, and the one girl's like, you're pissing your pants, buddy. Like, and then the fight kept going. He ended up like getting locked out and then breaking back into the bar with a tire iron. Like, that's where I thought like someone's head's gonna get caved in. During the fight, I got punched in the throat. Like, when the light tube came out, hit me in the mouth, but landed in one of the hockey players' hands, and talking to him after, he's like, so then I just looked down and I realized I'm hanging onto the light tube, so then I crossed his face. So when the light was out, I got punched right in the throat, and because it was a bar that I DJ'd in that bar too, so I got to see the security footage after the fight, and I was like, in my memory, like, I know I got punched in the throat, and then I took a minute to like, get my breath on the bar and then get back to it. But then when I rewatched the video, I was like, oh, I took a long break. It was a lot longer than what I remembered.
Felt like 10 seconds. You're just...
Man, the police ended up coming. Now it's just like, because they were in another town. Like, there's this one cop car for this huge area.
Mm-hmm.
So then they come in and take the guy off. So then the next day, my girlfriend and I were so sad, like, just to be a part of something like that, and to know that I'm the one who started it by calling him on. And we needed milk and bread at the grocery store. I was like, okay, I'll run out real quick and get it. Go to the grocery store, grab it quick, turn around, eye contact with him. He's at the grocery store too.
Fuck.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to get in line, you know. So I get in line and he's right behind me. So I turn around, because we've been talking the rest of the night.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey man, like, how are you doing today? He's like, oh, good. I mean, I don't know how that fight started, but I was like, dude, you started. He's like, I was picking glass out of my face this morning. And then I look over, and because it was him and his dad, they were just beasts. And then he's like, oh yeah, I'll be in there in a second. And I look, and his dad, so now I'm between the two of them, like, okay, here we go. And then I look at the conveyor belt, and it's all Spam. I'm like, oh, okay, this guy is just okay. Well, I said, like, well, have a good one, man. I hope you're okay. So then we just didn't go to the bar anymore, because we knew they were doing iron work. They're making some canola crushing plant or something. I don't know. But apparently he started another fight and got kicked out finally of the bar, and then went to Yorkton, got kicked out of a bar there. That's the fight that I think of.
All right.
Horrible, awful night.
It's equal parts.
He was bleeding.
Entertaining.
He was bleeding early in the fight, and it
yeah?
went on for so long that by the end it was a congealed black wad of blood. It was awful. I hate it.
Okay.
So it's a long answer.
No, it's okay, man. I liked it. Equal parts scary and funny. Do you have any strong memories from your first day in a new school, job, city, etc.?
First thing I think of is my birthday is September 7th, so some years that's the first day of school. And when I was starting at a new school on my birthday, didn't know anybody, so it was so stupid. I think I was 18. I went to the mall, got a shirt made that says "Birthday Boy." I was like, anybody?
Nailed it.
Like, it's just just having your first day of school be your birthday too. It's just kind of like could be better. I mean, there's people who have it worse. People with Christmas birthdays or no. You?
Man, I just started a new job recently, and I don't know if it's necessarily like my strongest memory from a first day somewhere, but I mean, I'm a chef, and I haven't worked in a restaurant in quite a while. I worked at Moxie's for like 5 years or so, and just a lot of my passion died at Moxie's.
Right.
Like, I went to school and shit, so I obviously had some sort of love for it, and a lot of it died there, and so I was just avoiding, like, I just didn't want to work in a restaurant just because of how they're structured and how things are there, and just a lot of the times, like, upper management are just shit and don't appreciate the things you do, and
right.
I don't know, it's just left a bad taste in my mouth, and so I started working for actually, like, a sister company of Moxie's recently, Chop, and my buddy got me the job, who was actually on the last episode, which I just want to say, if you made it through that last episode, I don't even believe in God, but God bless you, man. Like, we were so stoned. It was
good.
ridiculous. We ate, like, just an insane amount of edibles before we watched Beavis and Butthead. And then I recorded us watching it, and then we came in here and did the podcast. And by the time we were in here, bro, it was like, we were so stoned. Like, the podcast was so, like, it was the slowest
Edibles
pace.
are a sleeping pill for me. My body just shuts down.
But so he got me the job, and then worked the first day, and everybody was just amazing. It was awesome. And then the second day, we were short people. And because it's so similar to what Moxie's was, like, I know how to do a lot. And I've been, doing it for a while, too, so we were down people, and I was like, yo, just tell me what you want me to do. You don't need to train me. Like, just tell me what you want me to do. I'll do it. It went really well, and everyone's like, I don't know, just super polite, almost over polite. Like, I might be the biggest asshole there.
Right.
And the second day I was just like, man, I was waiting to see how it went, and I didn't want to thank you for getting me the job in case it was shit, but this place is amazing, and, like, thank you.
Oh, that's great.
And so, yeah, like that's my most recent.
Can you recall an especially awkward family moment?
Oh, but like, okay, so like I said, I was raised in foster home, so this is like I don't really have anything with
True.
like my immediate family, but I remember I was raised Catholic, and I had my first communion when I was like maybe like, well, I don't know, grade 2 or something like that. And I also had like, you know, like those big brother, big sister programs.
Yeah.
So I had a big sister, Yvonne, and she would always like, we'd just do things. She's like the coolest. She actually came to see me perform like a few months ago for like the first time we seen each other in over like 20 years.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it was great, man. And so, something happened with the cake. And she told me this, okay? So this is how I didn't even really remember. She was explaining to me that, like, she had, like, ruined the cake a little bit. And I got, like, super mad at her. And she spent, like, all that day trying to make it up to me. And I was, like, crying. And I was, like, being kind of, like, an asshole to her because she ruined my cake.
Right.
And, well, does that answer the question? What was that?
Yeah, especially awkward family moment.
Yeah, I would say that's awkward. You know, it's funny because I only have good memories attached to her, and she told me this, and I was like, I am so sorry.
Yeah,
yeah. You were the best.
I'm sorry in retrospect.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one I just thought of, I think we were in I was in maybe like grade 7, and my mom and dad, we went to, my nan had a trailer in Florida, so we were down visiting her, and we went to Disneyland. So we were leaving Disney, and there was like one line going out, 'cause I think maybe there was a boat or something they have to take to get there. But so there's all these turnstiles but there's only one to leave. And my dad is so funny. He's just like a big kid. He's like, oh, there's all these other turnstiles. I'm just going to go take the other ones. Like, Dad, just like stay in this line. This is the line.
Yeah.
So he's running. Like, he's going to go through. So the whole line stops and sees this guy. He's going to run ahead. So he has the attention of this huge line of hundreds of people long. And he doesn't stop. It's like one of these like ones that you like those. He doesn't slow down to push it. He just runs, boom, and it just like folds him in half over to his turnstile.
Did he fall over?
No, he stayed on this side. Everyone laughs, and he has to now turn around because he's pretty far from us. Now do the slow walk back.
That's hilarious.
So funny, so embarrassing. Like we were laughing so hard. Like, why would you run full speed into?
I just thought that.
Yeah.
That's
so
hilarious. All right. Are you good at having awkward but necessary conversations, or do you avoid them?
I think once they're happening, it's good. Starting them, I think I'm real hesitant to start them. And sometimes I'll start them in the wrong way just because I'm so uncomfortable with them.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say something a little too blunt and then, start it off on the wrong foot. I think I'm getting better at it, though. I realize now that a lot of the bad things I think are going to happen from these conversations is all in my head once they're finally out. Nobody's ever as mad at me as I think they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
People are usually even confused why I would even think that they'd be upset to begin with.
Yeah.
I think it's just growing up kind of with like a traumatic mother. I just got used to everything being a fight that didn't have to be. It's
right.
like, what person is waking up today? Is it the good one or the bad one? And just I think therapy really helped me figure out like, oh, I'm just projecting on everybody. Like not everyone is evil. It's just one person is evil.
I'm gonna answer this, but I just want to quickly ask you, like therapy. Was it something that you took as an adult or a child?
I did go to children's therapy, but I didn't really get it. I don't think it was for me helpful. It didn't. It was. I think it was.
Did they talk to you and you like played games and shit like that?
I remember I did a drawing. It just kind of seemed like a waste of time.
Yeah, because I kind of have similar experiences.
I didn't know how to tap into whatever was going on. I wasn't really privy to it.
Absolutely, 100%.
It was later in my early 30s when I derailed a relationship based on things that weren't even an issue. Like I I was lying about something that wasn't even bad to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was no, it was, and I had to like kind of come to grips with it. She was like, "You need to go to therapy." I was like, "I think you're right," and I called the therapist that day, and really did a friggin' ton of work in a few sessions. Like once you start saying it, it just makes so much more sense. But it's like a fear of giving the words to the feelings almost, even like, yeah, just that hesitancy to.
Yeah, I mean, and also like it's like you could just doubt the way you feel, and sometimes you just need that, the affirmation, I guess, like just someone to tell you exactly what you know, just to know it's not in your head.
Everyone's not going to get mad at you.
No,
right?
But when I had the same experience, like when I was a kid, it was just like, oh, I'm gonna go play Mousetrap for an hour, or like fucking Yahtzee or something, I didn't really learn anything, and then as an adult some shit happened, and it was actually very beneficial and kind of led to me getting into culinary, and just a whole bunch of good things snowballed from there. So
yeah, therapy was great for me, and I made it fun for myself, because I thought, well, if I'm going to go to therapy, I feel like you imagine like a German voice talking back to you or something like that. So I just like having a therapist with an accent was kind of like a joke for me. It was like I didn't like the German one, but I ended up with I think an Australian in Guelph when I was doing my grad school, because they paid for it and everything.
Nice, yeah.
And it got me through the things I needed to get through at the time.
No, it can definitely help for sure. And for me, I would say it really depends who they are and what the conversation's about. I don't have any problem being upfront about things, but it's like when you have to tell someone who's like overly nice or never done any, you have to like tell them something serious, or like I couldn't even imagine being like a doctor and having to tell people like that would be the hardest thing in the, oh my god. So I don't think I am bad at having awkward conversations, and I don't think I really avoid them. I just think it's harder depending on who it is for me.
I'm effective once the conversation starts. I surprise myself how quickly we can get to the bottom of it, but it's starting the conversation that.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree with that. But yeah, dude, we can get out of here. You can let these people know where to get at you if you want, and
Yeah, sure. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, both at Brandan Doty, Brandan. It's all A's. Doty. My Twitter nobody likes anything. I think I have some good tweets. There's some funny ones, I think, but
I'm not even on Twitter, bro.
It's not really. I only got on it to follow the Iron Sheik, but
nice.
And I never posted for years until. But yeah, my Instagram's I think that's the better place to be. A bunch of Gutbuster compilations and.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, lists of things. But yeah, that's it.
Alrighty.
Or you can check me out in hopefully in the ring refereeing matches if you ever.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here,
Thanks
sir.
for having me. That was fun.
Like always, this podcast is brought to you by Neon Light District. Hit them up. Use code PillowTalk to save 10%. And by the Great North Apparel. Hit them up. Use code PillowTalk to save 30%. Thank you for sticking around, and see you in 2 weeks, guys. Peace the fuck out.